Alrighty then. There we are. We are live. Sorry about that, everybody. I knew I was taking a chance when I scheduled this for right after I got off work. I literally got off work at 4:30, so I'm pushing it. Obviously, we have Michael Michel in front of us today. He has written The Price of Power. He also wrote Way of the Wizard, which is the one I have on hand. Did not have. I know you've got a copy of Price of Power, and then I also, just for giggles, let's see, where did it go? I've also got that, so we can see it all nice and pretty.
You got the retro.
That's the one I had found on the time on Amazon when I saved the photo. But yeah, so normally, actually, you know what? Let me go ahead. I'm going to start with the first question because I ask every author this. What is your supervillain origin story? Why writing?
Funny enough, I actually, when I was a little kid, and I grew up in the 80s, so this will make more sense in a second. When I was a little kid, wait, what?
Oh, you said me too.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
When I was a little kid, I fantasized about I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to be the villain in movies so bad. And so I would imagine myself with a trench coat and a samurai sword. Again, grew up in the 80s, early 90s. So a lot of movies had villains with a trench coat and a samurai sword because it's cool, undeniably. So I kind of even have a real little villain story there. But as a writer, my older brother, so I have two older brothers, and the middle brother was right. He had written something for school, and my parents praised him a whole bunch for how good he was, and the teacher thought he was so great. And I don't know if you know much about family systems, but the first child's hero child, second child's rebel child, third child is this other thing called puts others in service. It's not even a real label. But a third child is always going to have to try to find, especially in the same gender, is going to have to try to find clever ways to get attention. So child number one does the thing they're supposed to do, conforms to the parents' expectations. They get attention that way. Second child sees first child doing that. They have to do something different, so they become a rebel. Don't do what the parents ask. They get attention that way. Third child's like, what's left? I don't even know. So I was just looking for something to get some attention. And I was like, hey, my brother got some attention for writing. Maybe I can do that. And then my sixth grade teacher pulled me up in front of the class and was like, had me read some Ryan Skeffington. I see what you're saying. And actually, my book one is dedicated to my two older brothers because legit, we got along so good. We never fought. We played together. We made catapults, played Warhammer, talked about fantasy books. I know. I'm like every brother's jealous dream right now for this great experience I had growing up with my older brothers. My oldest brother's the nicest man in the world. So anyways, back on track. I started writing at that point, and then I joined a professional writing group called the Wordos when I was about 26, 27. The whole point of the group is very professional, very formal, structured meetings. People in the group had World Fantasy Awards, Nebula Awards. We had probably 15 Writers of the Future winners. And the whole goal is to be a professionally published author. We probably have, I bet there's over 100 people who are members of the Wordos. But I did that for 3 years, every Tuesday, without fail, critiquing and being critiqued by high-level writers. So, and then I was a failed short story writer because I'm not good at short stories. And then I started writing novels about 5 years ago.
Nice. Well, you're doing well. I do like them. I do have to say. I know this one dropped in right at 500 pages, and it was a quick 500 pages. Real quick, we also got Mike Voss in here. And then since he's been waiting patiently since 4:30, I don't want us to forget Meth Palumbo hanging out there.
Whoa, Meth Palumbo? Yo, not a lot of different jobs you can do with that name.
Well,
but really good job if you're some kind of dealer of certain paraphernalia.
I won't ask him if
marketing is good.
All right. And then also one other thing I want to ask you, a couple of questions before we get in. For those who, always curious about what an author's day like, what does a day in the life of Michael Michel look like?
I start the day with writhing. Okay. Then I move on to cowering in the shower and crying. Okay. Then it's despair and existential dread for about 30 minutes, get the sweats out. Okay. And then I can start writing. No, I'm just kidding.
You had me
Like,
going
yeah,
for a
this
second
happens.
because I thought you were trying to say writing and maybe just lisped
No.
it or something. It's like, no, writing. He did say writing.
Writhing upon waking. Oh God, it's hard to be alive. No, I usually go to a coffee shop, get there around between 8:30 and 9, and then I will dick around for a minute. But if I'm really on top of it, I will get to it. And what that usually means is playing some kind of song that gets me just like, it doesn't have to be like specific to writing, but it just has to get my energy going, you know? And once I do the song that gets me my energy going, I switch it to aggressive Viking battle music because there's like a drum beat. You're pulling the oars, you know, it's like always something, and you can't understand what they're saying, but there's a lot of chanting. And I just start going, right? Whether it's writing or editing or all the publishing work that I have to do. That's about what it looks like. Get done around, well, lately it's been getting done around 7 p.m. But if I'm just not many things to worry about, just producing a book, it's usually around like 4. And if I'm lucky, I'll get to work out and then maybe cook dinner and chat with the kids, watch a little TV with the wife, and hit the hay.
Gotcha. Nice. Sorry, I just had to share this.
I don't know who you are, but I'm a fan.
Yeah,
We're
we're not making fun of your name. It's just, well, sometimes you see a name and it just like sticks out, and you're thinking like, well, at least this is somebody who's not like, I can't remember their name.
No, it's not like someone named Gryftkin and Michael sitting here. I mean, my name is literally the same name twice. So
well, and my middle name is Michael, so it's there we go.
We are legion. There are many Michaels. We are your uncles, your fathers.
Oh my goodness, it is such a popular name. All right, and then I always ask every author, because a lot of the people who watch these things are, of course, aspiring authors. So let's say you get stuck, and this is you have to teach, and this isn't writer 101, this is author 101. So it doesn't have to be a writing thing, but you want to give a young author some advice, something you found out that really helped you, or something you really wished you'd known sooner. What are you going to tell them?
Oh, I know what I'll tell them. Get to know yourself. Actually know yourself 100%. The more authentic and content you are about who you are as a person, the more authentic you are there, the more at peace you'll be. And honestly, I know there's this idea of you have to be kind of tortured and all that to write. And it's life is pretty stressful these days. Maybe that's where the creativity initiates, but honestly, to be able to write and produce, it is helpful to not have to think about yourself or worry or have a lack of confidence or doubt yourself. It is such a trust game to complete a book, get to the end of it, go, okay, I have to rewrite it. Get to the end of that, go, okay, I have to rewrite it. Do that, and then do that 6 times with a book that is 1,000. I mean, it's 500 in print at 6x9, but if this was a trade paperback, it'd be about almost 1,000 books. It'd be about 800. Okay. So what that requires is a serious sense of self and resilience. And I think that's the best thing. I mean, that's why a lot of authors write the book that breaks them out when they're 40 plus. Okay. It's all just practice until that point. So the idea being, the more you know yourself, the less in your head you are about yourself, the more you can be with the characters and the story that's unfolding. Cut the things that are unnecessary, let go of the ego, and just get the most and best product out.
Nice.
Go to self-growth seminars, get a therapist or a coach, do whatever you got to do.
Actually, I'm going to post this again. I'm not just picking on Meth here, but he puts up basically a perfect segue to one of the questions I was going to ask. Price of Power is his favorite book last year, so he bought the new version. I was literally going to ask you, this is the second edition. I know that you're doing a sequel to this book that's going to be coming out soon. What was the purpose of doing the new edition for somebody who may have bought the first one and wants to know, should I buy the second edition?
Great. So what it started with is, and if this hadn't happened, this wouldn't have I would have just kept going, right? As I was. But I talked to the cover artist of book 1, and expressed some doubt at being able to match the character asset of book 1 for book 2. And then I was like, oh, and then they were like, yeah, it'll be fine. I can find something. But, and I was like, okay. And then I hung up the call and I was like, no way. Because even if they found something for book 2, would they be able to find the same character asset for book 3, book 4, book 5? And furthermore, the amount of money I was paying for someone to manipulate an asset, even though they did a great job, right? It wasn't the kind of like artist relationship I wanted. And I thought I could do better, right? I thought I could do better. And I very much believe that I have. I have an exciting thing that will happen once all 5 books are complete with the covers. Nice. Something that varying levels of excitement. It's more like a little Easter egg, but I'm so happy to have found Christopher Cant and then also Rachel St. Clair, who did the typography. The typography is sick. Okay, whoops, there we go. And so is the spine layout. We worked together on that. I think she did. Oh man, she's did an incredible job. But that team, so grateful to have my artist team. So that was what started it. And then I was told essentially like, don't just release it. You should take a risk and relaunch it because the book is essentially dead to the algorithm. So from a business standpoint, it also, it's big risk because you lose. I had 217 ratings, I think, on book 1. And I had to give all of those up essentially for the ebook. And the reason for that, by the way, this is an incredibly long and nuanced answer. I'm going to cut the corners as much as I can and just tell you that Amazon favors the first book in a series and you get one shot at it to catch the algorithm. People love to say nothing sells a first book like a second book, but in the words of a friend of mine, nothing sells a book like the Amazon algorithm sells a book. So everything in this relaunch has been geared toward trying to catch a little bit of the algorithmic love. And that's why I'm doing book 1 and then rapid releasing a second book within 2 months-ish. After that is to try to keep that going, because if you can do that, you can have this kind of a sales pattern rather than this. Okay. Yep. And that's what was happening with book 1. So did well for like a year and then and what would have happened if I didn't do a relaunch is I would have released book 2 and I probably would have got like a couple hundred people who really loved the series and then no one would have heard of it again. And then it's just been back to dead.
Good. We'll everybody that's in your Discord.
It's worth it. Yeah.
I do have to say, for those people, you always say don't judge a book by its cover. But I have to admit, I was going to buy it anyhow. I was going to get the ebook of I'm going to say it wrong, Way of the Wizard. And when I saw the cover, I was like, no, I need that on my trophy shelf. That's got to be, I love that cover. I know it's a different book, but I love that cover.
Different artist also.
Yep.
Nino did Way of the Wizard. Christopher Cant did The Price of Power.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't specifically talking about this artist, but yeah, just the fact that sometimes a cover can, it pushes sales. Let's face it.
It does.
Mess got a question. Can we expect more novellas like War Song?
That's a great question. So, and keeping with this strategy, I feel like the Daneth story from War Song had a lot more legs to it. And I got excited after I wrote it. And I was like, I'm going to turn this into something someday. So what you can expect is book 1 just launched. Book 2 should launch within the next couple of months at some point, probably 6 to 10 weeks, somewhere in there. And then you can expect a relaunch of War Song with an alternate cover that's very similar, but I've updated it. And to also try to make it match more of this. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then a second novella called Death Dance, which is the sequel to War Song, sometime after that. And then book 3, either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. So you should have about 5 works from me within the next 10 months. And there's going to be 4 novellas, 5 books in the main series, and then 4 novellas in the prequel series. So it goes War Song, Death Dance, Red Storm, Iron Prince.
All right. So I do have a question for you. Actually, it's more of a comment, but it'll get into a question. Back to the Price of Power. My favorite character, and maybe this is going to sound weird, but of all the characters in that book, because it is a lot of first person point of view characters, the madness. Where did that, shall we say, entity? Where did that come from in your disturbed little mind? What brought that up? Because I love the madness in that book.
Oh, the madness. Well, okay. First of all, I just have to clarify. You said there's a lot of first-person point of view.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, there's a lot of there's different sections about different people. I mean, it's not in first person, but we go from character to character. Like,
oh, okay.
Gotcha. Cord.
A lot of different point of views.
Cord. There's a section about Ishua.
Ishoa.
Okay,
Showa. I have a hard time with that one. It's like my last name.
Yep. Okay. And then of course the other. I mean, Theffy, obviously getting to the the madness there. Yeah. But the madness was one of my favorite characters, even though it was a very small part. But was there something that inspired that, or was that just something going on in the back of your head that we may not want to know about more?
That's a good way to ask that question. So I don't want to answer this. So first and foremost, let me just say that I am a diehard side character lover. I want all of my side characters to have just a real feel to them. I think that's actually what makes fantasy books good. Cardboard cutout, guard, tavern keeper. I hate that. Kitchen cook, which you'll see. There's a phenomenal character coming in book 2. She is a plus-sized kitchen cook. She's a great character, and she's a main character. So I'd never seen that character represented before in fantasy books. It's always like oh, hey, I'm the prince or princess passing through the kitchen. And then it's like they're a side character. So I want to turn a side character into a main character. Anyways, the madness. A lot of people love the madness. The madness is pretty unique and is a mixture of, well, I hate to tell you people this because I don't want them to get the image too clear in their head, right? But yeah, so I have to tell you. I forget his name. He's a mixture of two things. So one is one of my friends. Now that should scare you. One of my friends, I lived with him for a period of time, and he will it's like things just come in, and then he's walking around raving, quoting movies. One time, him and his wife went on a trip and came home, and he came in the house quoting this movie he watched with me like 2 days before. And I said, how much of what you just went to the coast with him, do you think, what percentage of like your conversation has been him quoting this movie to you? And she just looks at me deadpan and says, I don't think he's probably said anything else for 2 days. And so he is a crazy guy in a very entertaining way, though. He's one of the funniest humans I've ever met. But it's a mixture of him and his personality and the I don't know what he is. He's a character from the movie Ghost. Do you know who I'm talking about? Tall guy, deep pitted eyes with crazy hair, kind of bald to here, back.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay. And then also a mixture of a character I saw in I just had this idea for a short story 18, 19 years ago with a scary ghoul creature in this snowy farmland. And they just appear and their eyes are bloodshot and black lipped. And they're talking to these kids. And it was a really scary story I never ended up writing. But I turned that into the madness. And it was mixed with those other two pieces. So these too long answers. I always don't. I don't know.
No. I love these. Visually, I have to admit, in my brain, I was thinking much more of a human version of. You ever seen Spy versus Spy? The little black and white cartoon thing.
Yeah.
Kind of picture of him as the black spy guy, but more human Ichabod Crane-ish type thing. Scythe coming out of nowhere and everything.
Oh yeah,
that was my brain. I'm not right either. So anyhow, so real quick here, don't want to forget the people. Vivian's in the house. She thinks she loves side characters like you do. And then Josh is poking his head in here. Any chance we'll see more of the hardcover Kickstarter editions for the sequels?
So there are plans for various points. So a 3-book box set once book 3's been out for a while. And then, of course, a 5-book box set. I have another Kickstarter idea as well, but I put it on pause. It'll be probably years before that one goes. It's not a book, but it's related to the book. So to answer your question, there will be a chance for the first 3 books into a box set. At least that's my current plan. And then all 5 books in a box set as well. Although that box set is going to be almost too big. I don't know how I'd do that. Definitely not anytime soon, especially if there's tariffs.
Well, yeah.
That price has become challenging.
Not to get political, but so far books have been off the table for the tariffs. So for readers,
actually, I heard that.
That's a plus thing.
But I've also
I
had
don't guarantee it'll stay.
I heard about that after a couple of friends already said they've been smashed with tariff things for books. So I don't know what to believe about that now. I'm not sure, because I also heard the same thing you did, is that books wouldn't fall.
Confusion reigns. Go figure. 2025. Anyhow. So obviously, I want to say, is it July? Is that when book 2's coming out? I thought I saw a date for book 2.
No, I think I'm going to try to get it. I mean, there's a chance, I'm going to give it a 14% chance of coming out at the end of May.
Okay.
And 80% chance of coming out by June 11th. And then whatever percentage is left over, if any, I'm not getting into the math here, for 6% after June 11th.
Gotcha. So, but book 2 is coming down really quickly. So if you buy book 1, you're not going to have to wait forever for book 2 to come around.
Nope. And really not even that. So I'm trying to do a progressive release schedule. So short between book 1 and 2, shorter between book 2 and 3, and then probably it'll be a little longer between book 3 and 4, probably at least a year.
Yeah. To be fair, I think you're saying shorter than the original book 1 and book 2, not second edition book 1 and book 2.
Yeah, no.
That just came out a second.
Yeah.
All right. One other thing I want to bring up, and I was wondering if there was a plan on this all along. I haven't seen this happen too often. Again, we talked about the different perspectives you have, and you can see that a lot of these characters are on a path to cross each other's paths, for lack of a better term. That was I'm not a writer. But I don't think I've seen too often where you don't actually get any of them. At the end of book 1, you don't have that thing where people have started to run into each other. All of your perspectives are still completely separate.
Yep.
Was that always the plan? Because you were like, I'm going to save that for book 2, and because it's really, let me say, I enjoyed it. I've got a book review. It's going to drop on Wednesday. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I can see some people getting like, you can't leave me like this.
Yeah. Yep. So leave you like this being cliffhanger pieces?
Yeah, the fact that none of their perspectives have wrapped up at all.
Oh yeah, no. Nope. So okay, I'm gonna tell you a few things. Okay, number one. So I noticed early on, I said, first I almost wrote it like the Canterbury Tales / Hyperion, where it's just like, this is a book, this is a book, this is a book, this is a book, all in the same book. But that actually would have cut me off for books 2 and 3 and beyond. Okay. Then I realized, so what did Game of Thrones do? Game of Thrones has and a lot of fantasy books do this. All the characters start in the same place for the most part, right? Winterfell. They'll pretty much start together in Winterfell. And from there, as time goes on, they start to branch out. Okay, well, here's the problem. And here's why y'all don't have books 6 and 7 in your hands. Because if your characters travel away from each other, momentum is a hell of a thing. And it takes way more energy to try to bring them back together. And then you have this like massively long book story that never fucking ends. Sorry for the language, but it's true. So what I did was I was like, I'm just going to start them wide. Okay. And my idea as a writer of a series is to always be presenting something new. It's like a new land, new character, new situation, new character development, etc. Okay. So that people don't get to book 4 or 3 or whatever and go, this is so stale. Okay. If you like book 1, you are almost guaranteed to like 2 more. And then you're almost guaranteed to like 3 more, because it's just going to keep coming to that culmination point. When characters do cross paths, it'll be more exciting, right? Nice. So, and it also allows me to head towards something and end the books, and it just kind of moves faster, honestly, as I write them. So I don't have to go out and then figure out how the hell to get them back, right? I can finish the series, and that's a really good thing these days in the world of non-finished series.
Well, yeah. We won't mention Rothfuss or Martin. All right, so Meth cannot. But your book 2 is his most anticipated. I can speak English. Book of the year.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that, Meth.
And Vivian does like that about these books.
Yeah, I wanted to create them to be essentially like isolated, character-driven stories that people love each character individually, because I don't want that thing where like you're slogging through a Sansa chapter, to say one that I've heard a lot. I personally, the Sansa chapter at the Hand's Journey is the one that hooked me on Game of Thrones finally after 400 pages, right? But again, it's like, I don't want people to have to feel like they're slogging. I want them to see each character's like development and be excited about it as if it's like a separate story. And then the stories all start to weave together. Yeah. But it does happen slowly.
Well, but I also love the fact that even though you can tell that these characters are going to cross paths, this is not one of those mod squad type books. It's like, you're not everybody's filling a part in what this group is going to be, for instance. I mean, it's not it's not Lord of the Rings or any of that type of stuff where it's like, we need an elf that can shoot arrows or, whatever. So,
yeah. Yep. So. No, it's going to be, I'll tell you what, I took all the things I love and I said, how do I fit all those into a book? And I do it with separate characters. There's a character that's like, there's a spy story going on. Mm-hmm. There's an action war story going on. There's some romance going on. There's a magic powers thing going on. There's a chosen one going on. And that's just what I like. And each one shares like a unique and intriguing part of this world that by the end of it, you see it all coming together, and it's going to be more exciting, I hope.
It is. And I love I'll call it the ascending, but it's the magic system, for lack of a better word, that you have in here. Even though you don't necessarily explain every detail of it, it's not the normal everyday magic system, or it's not the magic just exists type thing. There is a reason, and there's a reason that only certain people have access to it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of fun. I thought that was a different take on it. My goodness, trying to think.
Especially 2 magic systems.
Well, I don't.
They're linked, but there will be. There's more. It just keeps. Again, it's the same thing. It's gonna like.
Are you talking about Grandma? Her magic system? Yeah. It sounded like she almost kind of alluded, though, it was kind of the same thing in one of the chapters. I think she still called it ascending, or maybe she was just referring to something else. But.
Yep. I mean, they're very similar, but also like.
We can avoid spoilers too. That's fine.
I'll try. Yeah, we're approaching that zone.
Nope. I get it. But hey, on the plus side, again, book 2 is not that far away. We are coming up on that quickly.
Yeah.
This is the fun part where I try to start thinking about the things I don't want to spoil. Because even like Cord, I can only talk about him so much. Because I don't want to
call him Barodane. You can call him Barodane.
I'm allowed. Is that early enough? Is that brought up? I guess that is brought up early.
It's brought up really early. I noticed that earlier. I was like, you can call him Barodane. It's pretty much from the get-go.
But although I do have to say, considering who his dad was, I don't know if that was the most fake name he could have come up with. Because isn't his dad Corden? And so he goes by Cord. It's like,
yeah. It's
I
like
don't know if
this.
he's trying to hide that well. That's all I'm saying.
It's like this, though. Have you ever seen a magician?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you watch magicians, right? They do things right in front of your face, and you still think it's Matt. And we still go, "Oh my gosh, how'd they do that?" Right? Some guy who's living in a town as a drug dealer, like, no one's gonna think he's the prince, even if he looks exactly like him. Those be like, "Hey, you really look like that guy," even if they thought he did. But they've also never seen the prince for the most part, right?
Yeah, it does help that you're not in a social media world on this story.
Right? I mean, what percentage of populations actually saw a king or prince in real life, in the actual kingdom?
Right.
I wonder I'm guessing it would probably be a fairly low percentage unless it was like 900s, like Viking, tribes. I don't know what you call it, but like where the king is like the king of 500 people, right? So I don't know. Or the Jarl, whatever they call him.
Well, I think it makes a little sense too, because I've seen plenty of celebrities that manage to go out incognito. And part of it's because they don't dress like they do for the movies. And part of it's because of the fact that we see them and we're like, oh, that can't be so-and-so.
Yeah, they're out of context. Yeah. And it's like, oh, there's no way that's them. Is that them? I don't know. Is that them? Like
Catherine Zeta-Jones doesn't go to the grocery store, It's
yeah, I think he's probably okay. But, that comes up again.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. There's a lot of stuff. Speaking of side characters too, some of your other side characters like Emeralta and Mechlin, those are also two of my favorites.
Yeah, you like them?
Especially Emeralta. She's feisty.
She's based
on. I think I'm saying her name right.
She was influenced by a former boss that I had who was a fantastic boss and really liked her. And I was like, I gotta give her some homage. Actually, a lot of the strong older female characters are based off of like mentors I've had as a coach or in a work setting. I've had some really good ones. Balara Frost is based off of a mentor of mine for coaching, as is the grandmother.
Yeah, Balara Frost was another good character. I really liked her.
Yeah. A lot of good characters. You liked a lot of the good characters. I like hearing this.
Yeah. Oh, and what's oh my goodness. I've just blanked on her name because I didn't write it down. The one that's in charge of her own hold, and she's also ascended.
Volku? Nkita Volku.
The one that doesn't use a weapon.
Yeah.
Use a weapon.
Yeah. They have the like black tattooing from here down. They have like the spear sigil. Twilight, Hunters of Twilight Cape.
Yes.
Yeah. She's cool. I like her. It's weird to like your own characters, but I like some.
I would hope so. I would hope you like your own characters.
Nobody ever says they like one of my favorite characters. The characters that are like my favorites, nobody ever references them. I mean, of course, everybody likes the Madness, and a lot of the others are Garlena or something. But those are probably the two most popular: is Garlena and the Madness, which is interesting because they're total opposites. And I think people tend to gravitate toward extremes, like the extreme crazy and the extreme like heroic. But I really love the Gray. And I love, nobody even knows who he is when I mention him, but Hoon Korpa, Captain Korpa. See?
Is that the pig-looking one, the one with all the scars?
He's scarred up, yes. Scarred. Yeah. He's the captain of the Scarborn.
Yes. Yeah, he was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think he was cooler when we met him than by the end. I don't know if I liked him as much by the end, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that character. Nobody gets on board, but that's okay.
I think he's also, I think like when the madness comes in, the madness really comes in. So even though he's not on the page long, he's very hard to forget. As to where I think he's on the page maybe a little bit more, but not enough to make a huge thing. And he's not that over the top personality.
He's super subtle.
Yes. But you also know why he is the way he is, which I appreciated.
Yeah. And you should check the once you get into book 2. Have you started book 2?
I have not started book 2.
Okay.
As soon my schedule, sorry to mention another author, but the way the schedule happened, I've got a different author that I've got to pre-interview. It's recorded on Wednesday because that's the only time I could fit her in. And her book was even longer than yours, so I had to finish yours early so I could get started.
Now I want to know.
Schwab.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
she's writing some books out there, that's for sure.
yeah, and so
nice.
I just like, there's no way I'm getting a 560-page book between the time that you and I finish talking and Wednesday. It's not going to happen.
Come on, Edward. Do you even care about these authors that you have?
A little bit, but I also do have a 40-hour week work day or work going on. So
okay, fair enough.
But but no, trust me, I did get your link for the second one, and I will be reading it before it comes out. It just I didn't want to start on it and get to that point because of the fact that book 1 was so kind of open-ended. I didn't want to get too far into book 2 and try and lose. Okay, when did that end and when did this start?
You don't have to worry about it. I mean, I only asked because we're talking about Hoon Korpa and he's in the prologue. So,
gotcha. Speaking of people that don't get a lot of time, perhaps in your book, and I don't even think we got his name. Maybe we did get his name and I've just forgotten it. But the not the Fly, because we don't really hear much about the Fly, but the Ascended, where all of a sudden you realize he doesn't have a hand, and then you find out later why he doesn't have a hand. Did he have a name?
Cauldron?
That's right, the Cauldron. Yeah, the fact that you find out later where that hand is, that was creepy and kind of cool, I gotta admit, without giving anything away. So
yeah,
I enjoyed the Cauldron.
Without giving anything away.
Yep. But
Cauldron's cool. I like the imagery of Cauldron.
I also like that Korba doesn't like him.
Yeah. Yep. Nope.
Korba is very honorable, even though he's on the other side.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I was like, how do I express what Korba is? It's like he's not evil, but he's honorable, but bad. I don't know, but that's how I like any kind of villains to be. So you'll be introduced to villain number 1 in book 2. And, a lot of people who read book 2 are like, he's kind of right. Like, I'm kind of on board.
Villains in book 1?
Yeah. Wait, what?
You said we'll be introduced to villain number 1 in book 2. I'm like, wait, none of these people in book 1 were villains?
Oh, they were villains. They just weren't the villain,
Yeah. They weren't the big bad.
Big bad, the Arrow of Light, Sadaya.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He's not big and bad, really, but he is, but he isn't, Anyways, you'll see what I mean.
Isn't that, didn't we get, unless I'm thinking of somebody else, isn't that the person we were introduced to at the end of book 1?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I forgot about that. We are so dancing on the edge of spoilers here, Edward.
I know, that's what I'm trying to avoid because book 2's not out yet. Book 1 they can go grab. And again, I've tried to avoid spoilers. Here's a question for you. Would you trade a trilogy of your work for the financial success, but it becomes your worst writing? In other words, would you rather have written 50 Shades of Grey, I think is what he's saying, rather than and gotten that money?
Oh, man, that's so hard because having the money of 50 Shades of Grey is a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
I mean, so strategically speaking, I would, and then I could write whatever the hell I wanted for the rest of my life. Would I, if I only could write that one trilogy and have people read it? No, I wouldn't. Gosh, that would be rough. But I want to write in a way that other authors really respect my writing more than anything. Like, I want readers to read it and enjoy it and love it. And that's like, it's just the best, right? But when another author says, I had someone recently mention that I can't really out them. An author recently mentioned that they had one of the biggest names in fantasy. And they were like, I'm not really loving it. I kind of want to read your book instead. And that to me was like, what? That's fantastic. It's just so cool when that kind of thing can happen, have that vote of faith. Now, will they like it? I don't know. But if they end up liking it, that's going to be like a huge vote of confidence coming from another author. So to answer your question, Chadwick, it really depends. Can't throw stuff at me like that, man. Can't throw money or fame or like the respect. That's a doozy.
That's my middle brother. He's just trying to start stuff. So.
Your middle brother, Chadwick and Meth, man, they will not let up on these questions. No, I'm just kidding. You guys can ask more questions.
So I like this comment from Michael too. There's a danger of creating so many great side characters that you get a ton of fan favorites.
Well, then you just kill them.
Well, yeah.
Come on, Mike. Do you even know me?
Kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to kill. So, I mean, a part of just killing chaff doesn't have an impact, right?
Sure.
Something just to beat a dead horse here, Game of Thrones, the reason it was and is my favorite fantasy series is because of the side characters. I think his name is, there's a couple characters, people probably don't remember them, but Robar Royce. He's a knight of the Red Knight of the Rainbow Guard for Renly Baratheon's, whatever you would call it, his Rainbow Guard, sorry. Mm-hmm. And Robar Royce has maybe 2 sentences of dialogue. Loved that character. Don't know why. It's just the things they said and the actions they took. I was like, what a badass. That was fantastic. Lynn Corbray. If you don't know who Lynn Corbray is, his character in Game of Thrones, he's holding down a castle and he has a talk with, one of the false kings or his fault. I can't remember who he's talking to, but he essentially is like, throws down the gauntlet. He's like an older man. He's like, I'll kill you all kind of thing. And it's this threatening, awesome speech that he gives. Nobody knows. Nobody remembers Lynn Corbray. He wasn't in the show, Well,
that didn't help.
So, he didn't. I don't know if Lynn Corbray died or not. I can't even remember. But these characters just appeared for a second. What they do is they just give a fullness to the story itself, and it's really just a little extra effort from an author. And you got to be willing to just kill them off. Unfortunately, I am.
Gotcha.
Or you can find clever ways to bring them back into the book, which I also will do.
As long as it wasn't a dream sequence. Sorry, I'm dating myself with that reference. Okay.
Dreams, Dust and Steel? You think there's not going to be a dream sequence? You are mistaken, Edward.
So Chad actually brought up, it reminded me of another question, not to tie everything together, but there's a question that V. Schwab, she's got her own podcast. She likes to ask authors. And I think it'd be a good one for you. If you were 40 years down the road and only one of your books so far was still being sold in the one that you're known for, and it's the only one that people remember and are still buying, what book would you want it to be?
Well, that's a hard one because it would be this series, The Price of Power. It would definitely be this series for sure. Like I even have other series planned. And I just know that it would be The Price of Power just because of what it meant to me. And if it has to be obviously it'd probably be the first book, as far as the books I've written, I think my favorite book is the third book, that I'm currently, it's finished and I'm going through the feedback process and integrating that. I think that's like got the most just great action, just really like good, like one line wisdom or one line, like awesome lines. I think it has all the best of that. So it'd have to be this series, but if people got to read the first book, right? You can't just jump to the third one. That's great.
And Michael, I'm going to be 94 in 40 years. So I don't know if we can necessarily pencil that in yet at the moment.
Yeah, let's not.
I might be pushing it.
89. I'll be 89. I'd be amazed to just be able to answer a question.
I will have forgotten what the question was by that time, I'm sure. All right.
Yeah.
So let's, we already know book 2 is coming around the corner.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions about The Price of Power before I don't want to keep you on We've been going for about an hour, but yeah, Michael. Yeah. Well, one he hasn't written yet. Alrighty then. We got all the Michaels going around today. Okay.
We are one.
Trying to think.
I do want to write a book. Okay, there is a book idea that I thought would be so funny if I ever want to get into the Terry Pratchett zone. And it would be about the Michaels and how we are like a legion of like conspiracy theory of Michaels. I think it'd be so funny to write that. I'll tell you another book series I plan to write someday. I am getting more and more excited about as time goes on. And I don't know if anybody's ever done this, so don't go fucking stealing my idea, other people out there, until I've done it, okay? But in about 4 years when I finish The Price of Power, okay, if something else doesn't catch my attention by then, I plan to write a series that is 2,000 years in the future based in the same world. I just think it would be so fun to do a sci-fi fantasy that you take the fantasy world you already wrote as like the history of the thing and try to see how the world would have evolved and developed. I think it'd be so fun. So I do plan to do that someday.
Gotcha. Gonna go with the Michael verse instead of the Bobo verse. Speaking of Michael, apparently he wants to be around here for that question too. So
nice. 108. Yeah.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Chad really jumping the gun here.
When does it get the movie adaptation? I would love that. I would probably go with the show though, and I would.
These days, I'd like you could do so much more in a show, and the shows have such bigger budgets because they're also not putting out like 30 episodes anymore either.
Also think it wouldn't be that. It would be obviously expensive to do a TV show of it, but it wouldn't be as expensive as many fantasy books would, because the only things that would require a large budget is just, I mean, each character is in like a small setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just costumes and set design. It wouldn't be like there's not a lot of like big magical, scintillating spheres and stuff like that, right? That you would have to like CGI, which I assume is more expensive. But yeah, I mean, I'm down.
Well, we haven't read book 3 yet, so I don't know if there's going to be dragons or anything. So,
well, there's rakes, the big ass, battle snakes. Those are.
Yes, right. I remember that.
Yep. That might as well be a dragon.
That was a big scene too. I should have remembered that. My brain was stuck on the bear hounds. It's like the only thing I could think about in my head.
Oh yeah, bear hounds. No spoilers.
Yep.
I can't. I
didn't say anything about them. I just said that.
No. I'm saying it to myself. I was saying it to myself.
Gotcha.
I was like, no spoiler. Stop, Michael. Stop. But yeah, Chadwick, if you've got like a few milli just lying around, buddy, we'll start with an audiobook. How about that? Let's go with audiobook first. Then maybe someday, if those take off, we can talk about show adaptations.
Yeah, Chad, get Matt Damon on the phone. Right. We'll see what we can do. Pretty sure he won't return my calls. All right. What do we got from Michael here? To be written list. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. We have TBRs. Authors have TBWs. So many TBWs.
How come I've never heard that term? That's definitely right.
Mm-hmm.
A very long TBW. I think I had like 70 short story ideas in my All Things Amazing folder for short story writing. I probably only wrote like a quarter of those. I actually found the best thing you can do is come up with multiple book ideas or multiple short story ideas. And then if they don't immediately just like, boom, you're like flowing, getting it all out. And you're like, holy shit, I can see. And it doesn't keep creating itself. You just smash a few of them together and that works.
Gotcha. Apparently Michael's making that TBW up on the spot. So
there you go. That's all. That's a great one. You should pass that around. TBW.
You haven't copyrighted it yet, though, so I don't owe you a quarter. All right. But yeah, I could see that. I just have this picture, Matt. I'm sure it's all just like files and stuff, but like some big author there with all these ideas, and they've got like a murder board. Basically, it's like, let's take this one, and we could attach the little red thing and bring that down to this idea, and we'll come up with something.
The murder board is also not far off of what I would call it. for me, at least. I don't know about other people, but mine would be a bit more of a murder board. Edward, what do you love most about interviewing authors?
Me? Well, flipping the script on me. Well, let's face it. Number one, a lot of the times I get to read the books before everybody else does, so that's a plus. But B, I just like, to make a long story short, I used to work at a bookstore. It was a small independent bookstore, but being the independent bookstore in town, that's where all the authors came. If an author came to Omaha, they went to the Bookworm. And so then COVID hit. And all of a sudden we stopped getting authors, and we used to have something in town called the Marion Brown, where like John Grisham and some of those people had come to talk. And of course that kind of dried up with the COVID thing. And I was doing the gaming thing on Twitch, to be honest with you. And I just like, I don't get to see my authors anymore. So I decided I would throw my hat in the ring and see if I could get some on. And I knew one that would do it with me because I'd known him for a long time. It was Brian Freeman. And I'm like, well, I don't want to ask him. And then that's the only one I do. And he's just like, so I'll make sure that's the second one. And so I just threw some stuff out there, Shauna McGuire, Jen Lyons, some other people that probably didn't respond, so I don't remember them. And then Jen Lyons said, sure, she'd love to do it like an hour after I sent it. And I'm like, okay, crap, now it's real.
Oh, wow, yeah.
now I got to figure out what to ask. But no, I just love to get a chance to, I'm not trying, I'm not a ratings guy. I'm not trying to dig up dirt on anybody or gotcha questions. I just love being able to talk to an author whose work I liked, Hey, tell them a little bit about your life. The only reason I even really throw in the author questions, like, what would you tell an author for a young author as advice, is because I know that there's a lot of young authors that watch these type of things too, or aspiring at least. And so I throw those in there. But most of the time it's like, I get to talk about your book. I get to talk about, what was in your head when you came up with things like The Madness. I get to maybe find out when the next book's coming, even if it hasn't been announced yet. Mm-hmm. So I just love chatting to people who do the stuff that I love to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you get the insider info.
Okay. Yeah. To be fair, this is my 4th year doing it. I finally gotten to the point where sometimes I actually have authors reach out to me, and I don't have to chase them down. Although on the other end of the spectrum, V. Schwab, I've been trying to get her on for 3 years and finally got her. So not all of them are. James Patterson doesn't return my calls at all. So, hey, there's that.
Hey, someday. Well, he's like the most prolific. I think he's maybe financially most prolific.
And he probably doesn't need to be on my podcast. Although I think he started one himself now, and he's actually doing it on like Patreon or something.
Really?
Or Substacks. Maybe Substacks. And it's you gotta.
Yeah. I mean, even if you've got all the money in the world, you got to find something to do.
But yeah, I mean, basically, like I said, that's why I started it. I don't like just, there's big name authors out there that I haven't reached out to because, maybe I haven't read their books yet, or, I read a book, but it wasn't great. I never want to have an author on here and I'm like, read your book. It was a book. What else you got? It's like, I like to have a book that I've read something by them and I know I enjoyed it, and that we're going to have some sort of conversation that we can have about it.
That sounds about right. I had 3 of these planned for today, actually, but 2 people had to cancel. So, but I'm right now feeling a little sleepy. So I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't do those other ones first, because they would have gone before you, and I would not.
I've only canceled one because I got sick, and then we rescheduled, and then I did have one cancel on me that just the timing never worked out again. Mm-hmm. But man, most of the times I've had them on. This is my busiest year ever, though.
Really?
I have to take a nap in July. So
yeah. How many interviews are you doing this year?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. So the most I'd ever had before was 10. You are my seventh of the year already
Wow.
in April. Um, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with a possible ninth lined
Wow.
up still to go.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're gonna double, if not triple,
Yeah. Yeah.
these years high. Well, look at you go. Well, I'm honored to be on your show, Mr.
So yeah.
Up and Up. That's awesome.
Yeah. Of course, one is kind of cheating. I was going to have him on as a booktuber, and then I just found out that he's got his first book coming out. So now he counts as an author. It was just going to be a chat between a couple of booktubers, but yeah, he's got a book out now. So
Nice. Wait, was it Abel Montero?
no, Chance
Oh.
Dillon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although I'm going to have Tori Tekken on as well, and she's both a booktuber and an author. So
It seems to be the trend. There's a lot of booktuber authors these days. Of course, just like that back. I think maybe Daniel Green kind of set that as somewhat of a trend as well.
Yeah, it could be.
But
I'm not counting. Technically, I would have had 11 last year if I counted John Minton, but he didn't have a book out at the time, but now he does. So
retroactive counting.
I don't know.
Stats.
Well, no, if I retroactive count them though, then I got to redo my channel trailer for my thing because it had all of my interviews up through Scalzi. So they're all in that channel trailer.
Nice.
So
I don't think I've actually ever read anything by Scalzi.
I had read Kaiju Preservation Society. I hadn't read like the ones he's really known for, like Old Man's War. And I love that one. It was kind of weird. And then we did the interview for When the Moon Hits Your Eye, which is also weird. I've read his weird books apparently, and he will admit that they're his weird books. So that's I'm not throwing anybody under the bus there. It's all about the moon becoming cheese. It's
nothing weird about that.
Yeah. So. He's also close to my age, so we just went off topic for like 90 minutes. That's kind of where we went with that one.
Nice. Hey, I'm ready to go off topic. At any drop of the hat, if you didn't notice, I try to reel myself in so I can actually answer your questions sometimes. But I'm a little bit more frenetic energy-wise, so
which is fine. Like I said, I tell some authors who sit there and they're like, "Oh, did I talk too long?" It's like, you know what? I love being able to talk to somebody, ask a question, and then just sit back and relax. Because otherwise, we'll do like when I had Martha Wells on, and then somebody complained later that they wanted more Martha and less me. Because when I first started doing this, it was just a chat. It wasn't really an interview. Just hop on with somebody and talk back and forth.
I like that.
But I found out quickly that not everybody was watching this to watch me. So,
okay, that's fair. That's fair. I think I'll get to meet Martha Wells. I'm gonna be a panelist at Worldcon, and
nice.
I believe she is the guest of honor.
She is because I'm going to Worldcon. It's my first con ever. So,
me too.
Yeah, it was going to be SDCC back in 2020, I think, or whenever COVID hit. We were going to go to SDCC, and that was like, nope, that's not happening.
I've never been to SDCC, but maybe next year. Maybe I'll try to get in there. Were you going as a panelist, or
no? I'm just going to enjoy it.
Okay.
Hang out, maybe see what other booktubers and what other authors I run into.
Yep. That's about how you do it. I did Dragon Con 2 years ago, and it was great.
I've heard really good things about Dragon Con.
I went to maybe 4 events, and then just talking to other authors in a bar for 16 hours straight.
In fact, I can tell you that the Olympian Affair by Jim Butcher only happened because of Dragon Con.
Oh, really?
He had he was on last November, I think, with me, and not this November, but the one before that, and had said something about the fact that he'd kind of given up on Cinder Spires because he didn't really think anybody was all that excited about it. And he said he had like 20, 25 people all ask him, like, when's book 2 coming out? And he's like, well, crap, maybe I need to write book 2.
So, there you go.
You'd be surprised what some of these cons end up.
Yep. Dragon Con's a big one. I mean, the difference in population, you got 70,000 people at Dragon Con, only have probably 5,000 at Seattle and Worldcon for 2025. So Yeah, it'll be interesting. I've never been
I
a
think that'd be
panelist.
nice because I've heard a lot of people tell me Worldcon's huge, and I was like, I don't know if I want huge for my first con.
I don't know. And again, this was an internet search. These days,
Fair.
if they're actually accurate. But also, people may subjectively think 5,000 people is big, and Dragon Con is crazy. Dragon Con is insane. If you're like, oh, this event sounds cool, by the time you get there, it's like, oh, there's a 500 person line.
So kind of like SDCC then, at least what I'd heard about SDCC. So
I think it's probably more like that. I was hanging out with a bunch of authors, Dirk Ashton and Zach Argyle and a bunch of other guys, Ryan Kyle, and we were in a line for the vendors, the artists floor. Started, so the building is a square. Boom. We started at this sidewalk, and we went down, up, down, over, inside in the garage, over, in, out, up the other side, down, and then around the building and in. That was the line.
I think I did that at the Orlando airport once.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, man, super fun to be on here. If you ever want me back, I don't know if you do double dips, but
I've had a couple. Nat Cassidy's going to be on at the end of the month. He's been on before. Paul Jessup. Paul Jessup's been interviewed once, but he's been on like 5 times because we keep finding other stuff to do. But yeah, I would not mind double dipping you. Let me get you a few wrap-up questions then, so I can let you go. Don't want as we're already getting off topic here, because there are some questions I always love to ask every author. Okay. If I can find my little note thingy that I just closed by accident. Nobody did anything. All right. Big 4 I always like to follow up with. Maybe you talked about this a little bit already, but skill, hobby, accomplishment, something about you that you wish more people knew, so that maybe you don't have to talk about books all the time.
Wait, skill, hobby, accomplishment. Is this just any of those?
Anything. Black belt ninjutsu, whatever.
I mean, I have been in a lot of fights. When I was younger, I was like a nice kid, and people would always pick on me. Even though I was a popular kid, I'd get picked on by like other popular kids. And then I would just snap. And then like, I have the probably rare honor of having vindicated myself against almost every bully I've ever had, whether it was like in a boxing match or a wrestling match or something. So that's kind of fun. But I love movies and shows. I'm like really into, like I used to work at Blockbuster. I got the job because I would walk around as a customer and be like, okay, what are 2 movies you like? And just talk to other customers and be like, okay, these 2. I wouldn't like spend my afternoon there, but if I was in there and someone was talking about a movie, I'd go, oh yeah, that's a good one. They'd be like, really? And then we'd have a chat, and they were like, we're hiring you. We want you in here. So there's that. Yeah, I'd say like a skill set that people maybe don't know is I'm like a pretty highly decorated and like high caliber life coach. I have worked with Fortune 500 CEOs and director level at like major corporations, even VPs at major corporations. And it's just a skill set. You don't have to have experience necessarily in that. Like I don't have VP skills of a company at all. Not even close. Coaching itself is like a skill set. So pretty good for that.
Nice. And then what are you reading now?
What am I reading right now? I just started the 3rd book of A Land Fit for Heroes by Richard K. Morgan. Love Richard K. Morgan. Discovered him after I started writing, and I was like, holy shit. Like his main character, minus the fact that they are homosexual, is very similar to Barrowdane. Very similar in a lot of ways, actually. It was kind of creepy. I was like, holy shit. Even their storylines are kind of similar. That's weird. So really, really enjoy Richard K. Morgan's prose. The books don't really have as much of a plot, and I find myself often confused, but I enjoy the sentence-to-sentence journey so much as an author and a writer that I don't really mind. So I'm reading that, and then on my Kindle, I'm giving a go at Dungeon Crawler Carl. I don't know that
everybody is right now.
I don't know that it's for me. I read Bastion, so that was my first progression fantasy. and that was actually pretty good. That was good. That was a really good one. I don't know that silly stuff is because I don't get as much out of it as like a writer myself and in my style. Oh, I'll tell you what. I just read Prince of Thorns. Even though everybody's told me that it just gets way better, love Prince of Thorns. Mark Lawrence is probably, I mean, he's immediately like in my top 5 writers now, like just based off Prince of Thorns. Excellent. I love the prose. Loved it.
I think Mark Lawrence too. If he understood how marketing is in fantasy right now, he could be doing a lot better. Because if he named it like a Prince of Rosenthorns, then it would fit with every other book out on the. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I was like, he's doing pretty good though.
no, I'm just joking. It seems like everything's like a box of mac and cheese. I saw somebody post that the other day. I was like, yeah, pretty much everything is a something of something and something right now. It's ridiculous.
A book of pages and words.
Hey, there you go. So actually, somebody would probably buy that just to see what it was about in the first place. All right. I got 2 more questions. My second to last question is always this. Is there anything that you expected to be asked that wasn't? Basically, this is a free fall. Is there anything you want to talk about that we didn't bring up?
Wanted? No, I don't really want for anything in these, Okay. I just want to have a conversation and see if you can surprise me with something. It's always fun. See if
I don't know. All I know is that I'm glad we had this, via the internet here, because I can get sarcastic sometimes, and apparently you've got a short temper, so the fact that you can't hit me from here is a plus.
I actually do not have a short temper. It would just build up, It would build up, and then I'd get to a point where I'd be like, "You actually think you are better than me?" And I'd be like, "Let's box," And then, oh man, I've had some good boxing ones.
You just reached that part like my wife where it's like, you're not funny anymore. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
And then the last question I ask everybody, I don't hate online stuff, but I do love my brick and mortar indies. Shout out to a brick and mortar bookstore that you love.
Ooh, I got a couple good ones here in Bend. We got Dudley's. Dudley's is great. Cool staircase. They've got like a Jack Nicholson, like one of those face like popping out things for a bookend. Yeah, shining one. That's a cool bookstore. And then Pegasus, they have like a really nifty. The guy who runs it is also an indie author with some like Frank Frazetta like covers for some of his books. He's cool dude, and it's got like a great like layout. Like when you walk in, it's not just ordered rows. The books are facing out like all over the place, and it just feels to me like my ADHD is like, whoa, I can see so many books right now. This is great. Like I can see them all. So Pegasus, bookstore in Bend, Dudley's bookshop in Bend. They're like 2 doors down from each other. Love both of them.
Perfect. Yep. I've got no problem. And I will get those. Well, maybe not tonight, because as soon as we get off here, I think my wife's already got dinner ready, but I think I can smell it. But I will get links in there. So anybody watching this later, I'll have those down by tomorrow. So people will also see the links to the bookstore, because I do love shouting those out.
Nice.
All right. Did anybody have any last minute questions in the chat before we go? I'll give you all 60 seconds.
I'm amazed you all are still here.
Yeah, we've got a few.
If they are. Oh, there are a few? Wow. Okay. That's great. Oh, look at you guys. Diehards. They're like racking their brains. 60 seconds. What do I ask? What's your favorite?
Well, I think most of the ones that are still here are the ones that have already been talking a lot. So they probably, Chaz, like some of the best convention experiences were small ones with under 500 attendees.
Yep.
Smart Alec. I don't know. I'm not upstairs to see what she's cooking. Brothers, well, I think we already had this conversation, right?
I'm gonna roast cauliflower and cook up some chicken and put buffalo sauce on it.
There you go. There, you know what his dinner is. Perfect.
I didn't like buffalo flavored. It would hurt my stomach before, but now I've like the magic of the cauliflower, not just like meat. I don't know. I like it. It's my jam. Maybe
sometimes
it's bad.
You need something to cut that.
Yeah.
Cut that other flavor.
I actually think I like it. Well, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what I cook. Got a lot of food I actually need to go shopping more than anything.
Perfect. Well, everybody, make sure you buy Price of Power. I loved it. Like I said, I've already reviewed it on Goodreads, and I think I remember to put it on Amazon. I hate Amazon because if you read a book before it comes out, you can't post your review on Amazon until the laydown date ends, and then I've got to remember to go back. But I think I did that for one. I'll make sure, and then I've got the video review coming out Wednesday, a couple days from now.
Oh,
so
a video review. That's
yeah.
fancy.
Anything I do 5 stars and quite a few that I do 4 stars, I'll try to do a video review on top of that. But with also, shouting out, putting down links for people to buy the books, things like that. Anything less than that, I feel like I put it on Goodreads so that other readers can see it. I don't try to put it out there where authors are going to see it, because even though I think 3 is a decent book. It's neither something I would tell you to read or something I would tell you to avoid. It's just right down the middle. But I don't want to like make a big video about this is a book.
Yeah.
It has pages.
Yeah. No.
So
the book of words and pages.
But yeah, I did like this one enough. Oh, sure, go for it.
I got a question for you. What is the price of power most similar to in a good way? And what is the most similar to in a way that I might be offended by? I mostly want to ask the last question, but I want to give myself a positive as well.
No, because, well, like I said, there's so many things about this, like even down to the fact that it didn't completely wrap up at the end per se, that I didn't, I have a hard time finding another series or a book that I can even put it next to. You covered so many things in it without, like you said, you talked about the chosen one and like that stuff, that I don't know that I can think of another book that I could even put it like this is in this category. Like I just read The Devils by Joy R. McCrombie, which comes out in May, and I really liked the book, but it was definitely very one of those, like, it was like a Mob Squad type thing. It's like you've got this character and this character, and they all fill their little slots. And so that one I could find something I could put it in the same category as. I don't know where I'd put Price of Power. Because it has different pieces that might fit other books, but I don't think any of them fit all of them. I mean, you've got Baradane, he's not really in exile, but I mean, it kind of has almost that trope, he's off and nobody knows who he is, and he's hiding out and pretending not to be somebody. But then you've also got, and I forgot the grandmother's name now, but the Akiris angle, that's much more the chosen one trope going on there. I don't know what the heck Theffy is. I don't even know where I'm going to put that next to anything else I've read.
He more than anybody makes people DNF the book.
What?
Once he enters. I know. If they don't like his, he's so morose, it's like they can't see that maybe that would change, but that whole him as a character turns people off, which is so interesting.
See, I haven't read Five Warrior Angels,
Michael Voss gets the nod. A Land Fit for Heroes and Five Warrior Angels are the two that are popular fantasy that not a lot of people read currently, that I think it's similar to, especially the Five Warrior Angels.
And again, this isn't something where I can compare it to something else, but I think the only reason I could see people being a little put off by the Theffy story is you see the other three main perspectives. You see the collision course that they're on as to where you're not quite sure where Theffy fits in. And I'm sure we'll figure that out in book 2 or 3. But as for right now, you know that he's there, and you know that the Word Fox is crazy, but you don't know where they're going to fit into the other 3 main perspectives that we've covered.
Yep, that's fair.
So again, I definitely didn't DNF it. I know that it's not all wrapped up at the end. I got that far. But yeah, I do have to say it's the most one where you're like, okay, where's this one going? Where's this part of the story headed? And I don't know yet.
Yep.
So
can't say anything.
Like I said, and again, part of the problem too is I read too many genres. I read almost everything. So that means I have a broad spectrum of books to have picked from, but I don't necessarily have a deep. Right now I'm reading a lot of fantasy, but that also means when I was reading other stuff, I missed a lot of fantasy. And now I'm starting to read some more horror, but there's also a ton of horror that I missed. I've hardly read anything by Stephen King. I was a Robert McCammon fan back when Stephen King was popular, and so I was reading everything that McCammon put out, and I didn't pick up a lot of King.
Reading the wrong stuff at the wrong time is what it sounds like.
I don't know. I love Robert McCammon. He's Swan Song was excellent.
Yeah. Have you ever read A Canticle for Leibowitz?
No, but it's on my list. I know I want to read that.
That's my favorite book of all time. Can't tell you why.
I hadn't thought of this one.
They all got a lot of parallels. Notice the way hands work, the description of hands throughout the whole series. There's a thing there, but a lot of Easter eggs. I actually wrote The Price of Power so that it could be reread, which I'm happy a lot of people have chosen to reread it in anticipation of book 2. So that's really cool.
Well, that happens when you have a pause. You're like, I got to catch back up to where I was to see what's going on.
Yeah, and there should be at some point some. Let me see if it's up there now.
What was book 2 called again? Does it have
book 2 called A Graveyard for Heroes?
That's right. Yes,
Graveyard for Heroes, and it does not look like it's.
I could have looked at the email you sent me. I would have known that.
Yeah. Graveyard for Heroes. So it's going to go Price of Power, A Graveyard for Heroes, Banners of Wrath, Measures of Steel, The Final Song.
Oh, so you got them all planned out.
Yep, I know how it ends. I got it all figured out.
Sometimes the titles don't make that, though. They're like, to be named later.
Yeah. I mean, and there may be some adjustments, like it might be A Measure of Steel or The Measures of Steel, since, it's like, it goes The Price of Power, A Graveyard for Heroes, Banners of Wrath, A Measure of Steel, The Final Song. But I want it, I don't know. Brandon Sanderson doesn't do like a title. It just doesn't matter. I'm just putting the title that works the best for the book, No,
I get it. I read Barrow King recently, and I always call it The Barrow King. I always want to put the in front of it. There's no the there.
It's hard to know what to do with your indefinite articles as far as titles are concerned. Some people are like, cut them. Some people are like, don't cut them. I think Rob Hayes told me, he's like, just give it the title. It doesn't matter. And I was like, I like that. I like that it doesn't matter angle. People are going to get what they get. But yeah, anyways.
Perfect. All right. But no, seriously, I will, I would not have any issue having you back on at some point. It's definitely going to have to be a few months.
That's fine.
Booked right now. It's my own fault for not saying no to a couple of people, to be honest with you, because I've had some that managed to fit in. It's like, I can do it, but I can only do it then. And I'm like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to have them back on again. I got to do it.
Yeah. Now you got to be protective of your time and only do it when it makes sense. So,
plus my wife likes the fact that for 2 hours she doesn't have to put up with me. So, but there's always that.
I'm looking forward to that. In a couple of years, my wife will probably be there. She'll be like, just be gone. Go do
your thing.
Be gone.
Let me know when you're done.
Yeah.
Tell me if I have to make dinner.
Yep.
All right. No, I appreciate your time, Michael. Again, I did love this book. I am totally looking forward to book 2 as soon as I can fit it in my TBR. But that's looking like July at the moment. So
yeah, that's totally fine. Well, I look forward to hearing more from you, Edward, and I'll see you in the Discord.
Oh, look, hey, we got one last person, author Chance Dillon, who I just was talking about earlier, and he's missed it. So now he's going to have to rewatch the whole thing. We
talked about you for an hour and 18 minutes, Chance. Only you, but now we're done, so you get nothing.
All right. But thank your wife for sparing you for a couple hours too. Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right. Catch you later.
All right.